What's up, you guys? For a while now, I've been gathering lots of thoughts and things that I want to share for a very long time. This is the beginning of a series I'm going to call, sometimes I call it the tools for the new navigation. We need a new way to navigate. There's a new reality that wants to be born. And we're looking around us for where to find this a bit. And you can find cool examples of people doing cool things and, building ways of the world working that work for everyone, that are inclusive and loving and regenerative and restoring, and, it's out there. But we're all pretty confused and ungrounded and unsettled, and the world is crazy, and our own traumas are coming up for us, and we don't understand our thoughts or our feelings or why things aren't the way they used to, or how are they going to work now. That's why I call this the tools for the new navigation. How do we begin to navigate from here? All right, and so each tool that I'm going to put forward is going to be one video. Hint, not rocket science. Hint, not new information, but maybe it's delivered in the way that I feel it, These are my tools. They aren't the tools. They aren't the only tools. They aren't the best tools. They are tools. And I think one of the most important things about them is each of these tools is yours already. You already own it. It's already on board your system as a human being. A little stretch is always good for everybody, isn't it? Oh, it feels so good. This is tool number 1. Make weird noises and stretch. That's a joke, but it's also not a joke. Just needed that right now. Maybe you did too. Let's just take a couple breaths together just to tune in. Because we're about to launch into our first tool, which at points for me, I have written down for myself, because it's like you realize things and then you forget it, right? You realize something, it's helpful, and then you kind of forget it. And then you remember it again. You're like, I realized that like 10 years ago, and then 8 years ago, and then 6 years ago. So I put things in front of me. I'm just going to give you my board here, cheat sheet. Those are the tools right there, all right? One word almost. Each one is about like a word or 3-word phrase, okay? So this first one is called number 1, breathe. Let's just write it down. Number 1, breathe. Because this is your first and always tool. Oh no, is this going to be backwards? It's going to be backwards. Anyway, number 1, breathe. This is going to be your best tool right here. It is number 1. It is first. It is the first thing that you go to when you're in any sort of space where you're wondering, one, if you're trying to, get out of an uncomfortable space, if you're wanting to tune into a deeper space. I don't care what it is you're trying to do. This is it. So it's number 1, breathe. Let's do some breathing. Let's just start with breathing. All right, so for me, what I have found, all right, is that when you just take a breath. See, you have to breathe first. Let's breathe. Many ways to breathe. Here's how I do it. I go in through the nose. And I'm really thinking about like smoothness. When I breathe out through a small hole in my lips there and make a small passageway. Nice and smooth in through your nose and out through your mouth. You're slowing the whole body down. You're actually shifting systems. Alright, so I get real jammed up because there's about 13 million things I want to say about breathing all at the same time. So, relax. I'm telling myself. Breath. Breathing. Alright, let's just start with what we know. We breathe automatically at all times until we're not here anymore. It is the thing that you need to be alive, that you can go without for the shortest amount of time. Right? People hold their breath for there's some incredible numbers of people who work with breath specifically, and they can hold their breath up to, really, really long times. But you guys know what I'm saying. This is like, if you don't have your breath, it's over, right? That's how important breath is to our physical body. And what we're moving into today, it is no big secret, but today we're going to enter the world of breath and say, when I do breathing consciously, when I start to alter it with consciousness and I start to move it in the way that I wish to move it, what happens then? Well, there's many things. It hits all levels. On the physical level, you're slowing down all of your systems, okay? And specifically, we'll highlight the nervous system. You have, this is general knowledge. I am not an expert in any of it, all right? You have kind of like two sides or two modes of operation for your nervous system. The sympathetic and the parasympathetic. And I always forget which is which. I think the parasympathetic is the rest and digest. So we're very familiar with the nervous system's response of fight or flight. Okay? We have a small part in our brain that is that animal. They call it the reptilian brain. It's also called the amygdala. That's where your survival becomes engaged. That's where your body knows what to do without having to think about it, to get you out of a dangerous situation, to hide you from a dangerous situation, to placate through a dangerous situation. It all becomes very automatic. And we're not going to hate this part of us because most likely it's kept us alive a time or 1,000. So it's there for a reason. As we know, as it gets put out quite a bit, we operate from that in many, many areas of our life. Our whole system is amped up to respond in that way. When you tune into your breath consciously, you're saying, wait a minute, I would like to shift. All right, I'm going to tell myself I'm in a safe enough location right now. It's time for me to chill and shift into the other side, the rest and digest side of your nervous system. When you're out of survival, your body reallocates all its resources. When you're in survival, it's very pointed. The systems that are getting blood flow and brain activity and all of that are all about survival. You can't really expand or sink in or explore any other broader part of yourself until you shift into what we're naming rest and digest. That's just the very basic physical components, right? Where your body now reallocates resources and says, okay, we can take care of all the other things that are part of wellness, but we're not in this super emergency heightened only survival. We can relax a bit. We can let everything flow. Okay, so that's the physical part. It's one of the physical parts of what happens when you start to be conscious with your breathing. You're saying, let's shift the nervous system consciously. Because I want to explore more than just fear and panic and anxiety. I know there's more to me. So, slowing the breath down and also making your exhales longer. So, in through the nose and out through the mouth. You can do this while you're driving. You can do it in the shower. If you consciously do it maybe a little quieter, you can do it in a meeting. You can do it in a classroom. You can do it when you're in a conflict with family members. You can do it when you're lying in bed at night or in the morning. You can do it while you're washing dishes. Honestly, anytime you're bored. And maybe anytime you kind of go to automatically reach for your phone, you kind of don't know what to do with yourself. It's a great time to just say, oh, wait a minute, 3 breaths. Let's just do 3 breaths. What's that, 15 seconds, 20 seconds? Feed yourself breath. So we've talked about breath and survival for the physical body, but I also believe that breath is feeding you. It is a way of you connecting to the spiritual energy, the flow that really sustains your beingness. You're accessing you. It's the you-ness, the isness, and it's taking you out of mental processes. Crunch, 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 crunch. Out of releasing grips on your programming, the way we think that life is supposed to go. We've been taught of the way the day is supposed to go, or you're stepping outside. You're entering a realm where all the possibilities are possible. All the possibilities exist. This is where we want to go. This is where we have to re-dip into if we're wanting to create from something more than the programming, the collisions, the calamities, the conflict of the past. Because all of that is based in many things, but in limiting beliefs about ourselves, about each other, and what's possible on planet Earth. Okay? When you breathe consciously, you're expanding again. Instead of being crunched down into just a physical body, just the way it is, it's just the way it is. The world is the way it is. It's a harsh reality. It's everything's going to... Is that true? Is it? Or do we want to dip into this pool, this well of inner beingness? What's in here? Do we even know? And if all that's too much to think about right now, Just see if you can give yourself a bit of relief. Just dip into the breath for momentary relief, for an easing, a subsiding, a soothing of the sensations that are occurring in your body. Breath. Breath makes space. Breath makes lightness. Go to the breath. We'll continue to do breath. This is the beginning, though. This is the reminder of number one. Number one on the to-do list. Number one when you're in a time crunch. Number one when you're in a fist fight. Just kidding, not a fist fight, but you know, when you're in the moment. And especially it's like, I've got something to do. And everything starts to tighten down. Start to remember, behind all that, okay, there's lots to do. There's many goals that are wanting to be met at one time. Just start to stretch it a little bit. Give yourself a little more space and a little more flow behind it by just beginning to run the breath. Before you respond to that email, before you have that conversation with your partner, give yourself space first, and a physical way to access that, a thing to do, because it's helpful. Is with the breath. That's my beard. My beard gets itchy when I think a lot. How you feeling? Do you feel different than when we started this? Because all we've really accessed so far is number one, breathe. Breathe. Ride the breath. Rest on the breath. Allow the breath. And then the more you loosen up the breath, you start to realize the more space there is to loosen. How big of an inhale can you take? And then what if you just pause? Relax while you're pausing. And then let it out. Start to feel your body melting. Start to feel the tight places melting, easing, soothing. Even if it's just a bit. Just a bit. We're making space. We're creating space for the new to come through. That's number one, breathe. And even if you've just listened to this in the background while you started your day, My intention is that you receive something. Something easing, something soothing, something that feels good. I don't know if I'm a kiss the camera person, but I do love you. I don't know if I'm a hug myself in the camera person, but I do think you should hug yourself. Not should, just take a minute. Hope you have an awesome day. I love you. What's my sign off, guys? Is it going to be the same every time? Who cares? I'm going to breathe.